Hi, hey, oh. Hi, hey, oh. Hi, hey, oh. Hi, hey, oh. Ha, in the company of women, I am humbled, I am healed, I am inspired. Where living words bounce between us, the blood of our experience exchanged. Women in solidarity, seeding and leading the way. On 9th August 1956, 20,000 women marched to the Union buildings to protest the pass laws, to demand freedom, peace, and justice. Nearly 7 decades later, when things should have changed, women are still fighting for the same thing. On August 9th, for the last 7 years, the women of Cape Town have taken to the streets in a call for unity between cultures, gender, the abled and differently abled, also to demonstrate their commitment to the rights of women to be free, to live in freedom, peace, dignity, and safety, to call for justice, and to unite Cape Town in the war against gender-based violence. Women's Zone's Women's Humanity Walk is a focal part of Artscape's annual Women's Humanity Arts Festival, when thousands of women take to the streets of Cape Town. But this year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you are invited to join us on a virtual walk, honoring the humanity of women and some of the inhumanity they've known over the centuries. Each year, the walk begins at an iconic building in the city center. This year, it was to have started out from the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation. A beautiful building in Batencant Street that was once the old granary and now proudly houses the Tutu Museum. But back in the 1800s, it was a women's jail, a house of correction for riotous and abandoned women. Petty thieves, prostitutes, and the murder accused all slept in a cold, dark room, and by day did washing, sewing, or picked oakum and coir rope. Conditions were cruel and unjust, described by one inmate as a place of vile deeds, a den of infamy, where a woman might be flogged to death for her misdeeds. One woman who actively worked for the rights not just of women but of citizens in general, that people of all colors should have justice, was Sissy Goole. Born in 1897, Sissy joined the National Liberation League. She fought for the concept of a united working class, a new order of Black unity. She ran for a seat on the city council and in 1938 won Ward 7, which included District 6. This earned her the title the Jewel of District 6. With an LLB from the University of Cape Town, she became the first woman of color to be called to the Cape Bar. This memorial to her, a series of circular pillars, each representing one of the laws she helped to pass, was created by Ruth Sachs in 2006 for the Sunday Times 100-Year Heritage Project. Across the road from the Tutu Museum is a popular sitting spot for students and people who live on the street. The safety of children are and always have been a prime concern for women. And further down Longmarket Street is a memorial called We Are Still Here. Between 1841 and 1921, over 7,000 destitute children were identified and advertised in the Cape Government Gazette. If not claimed by someone who could support them, they were indentured as laborers. Sitting here is Fozia. Fozia lives on the street with her partner. This mosaic memorial, designed by Lovell Friedman and Leora Lewis and UCT's History Department, represents the stories of these orphaned children, a street archive incorporating drawings and writings of children living on the streets of today. A few blocks away, in St. George's Mall, is Krotoa Place, a space honoring a young Khoi woman said to have been one of the first domestic workers, as well as, more than likely, one of the first victims of domestic violence. Born in 1642, Krotoa, or Efa, was taken into the household of Jan van Riebeck as a child. Stripped of her traditional Khoisan attire, language, and heritage, she served as an interpreter. She married Danish surgeon Pieter van Meerhof, but when he was murdered, Krotoa was left alone in Cape Town with her 3 children. Having been fed alcohol as a child, she developed an addiction and fell into what was deemed by authorities as an immoral and dissolute life, and was banished to Robben Island. She died in 1674, a broken soul. Former Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille unveiled a mosaic bench in her name, one of many created by Rock Girl, a movement founded by India Baird to inspire and encourage young women in disadvantaged areas and to create safe spaces for them in the city. Sadly, in 2015, Khoisan activists destroyed the bench, not wanting people to sit on the image of their heroine. Krotoa may have been one of the first, but was by no means the last slave in the Cape. From the mid-1600s, more than 60,000 people were brought to the Cape to be sold into slavery. Up until the early 1800s, this building was filled to the brim with slaves, many of them women. The slave lodge at the top of Adderley Street was also used as a prison, mental asylum, and an unofficial brothel. Back then it was said, "Women are few, but slaves are plenty." Ironically, the slave lodge sits just meters away from Parliament, alongside not just one, but 2 statues of Jan Smuts. While in all of Cape Town there are only 2 statues of women, Van Riebeck's wife, Maria, and here, outside Parliament, Queen Victoria, who never set foot in the country. On the other side of the Company Gardens is St. George's Cathedral, a humanitarian site where, back in the days of apartheid, members of women's movement, the Black Sash, would stand in silent protest. In 1982, it became a place of refuge for the mainly women hunger strikers protesting squatter camp evictions. And in 1989, it saw the now famous Peace March led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when 30,000 people marched in defiance of the state of emergency. It is also where Artscape and the Women's Zone's first Women's Humanity Walk started in 2014. Then, and every year since, the walk is blessed by women leaders of many different faiths. Across the way is Parliament itself, where currently they are reviewing the Women's Charter of 1954, which demanded, "As women, citizens of South Africa, we are here to claim our rights. We want recognition and respect for the work we do in the home, in the workplace, and in the community. We claim full and equal participation in the creation of a non-sexist, non-racist, democratic society." But sadly, decades on, women are still not benefiting from these rights, nor their demand that women shall be entitled to security and integrity of the person, which shall include the right to be free from all forms of violence in the home, in communities, in the workplace, and in public spaces. And so, the war against gender-based violence rages on. In homes, in workplaces, in the streets. And each year, it is a key component of the Women's Humanity Walk. And at the start of each walk, our prayers continue. But at the end of every Women's Humanity Walk, there is time for celebration, and we can all join hands in peace and unity. We hope you have enjoyed this virtual Women's Humanity Walk, and that next year we can walk together, side by side. And as soon as COVID-19 circumstances allow, CEO Marley Naru invites you to join us all at Artscape.